We're here at the Swiss ICO Summit, and I'm talking here to Vinay Gupta, and he's going to be in a panel together with me. We're talking about a fund, and he's an old hippie, he comes from the internet world, he comes from the crypto world. Burning Man is in your past, and you started a fund of funds, or you started a fund, a crypto fund. How is the crypto fund doing?
Well, so we started it as a VC, right, about a year ago, and we came to the conclusion that the assets were already overpriced.
It was a crazy time because everything went up 5 times in 1 year.
And you looked at the economic fundamentals, it was hard to see how this was going to pay. So at this point, we decided we would rather be on the buy side for money than the sell side for money, because that meant that our valuation would be quite high and we'd have an easy time fundraising. And so we started basically a Supreme Court of the internet in the form of a commercial dispute resolution system called Mattereum.
So Mattereum is the modern crypto court.
Yes, exactly, right.
But you can put it into smart contracts that if you have a problem, your company or your organization is going to be the arbitrator.
Exactly. But this is very simple commercial arbitration. So although we use phrases like Supreme Court of the internet to explain it to people, in truth it's using the same commercial arbitration agreements that handle hundreds of billions of dollars of real business and things like shipping and construction. It's a very standard model, but for new technology, and it grounds the crypto right into the real world in a very new way.
Okay. And who are the people who are doing these kinds of judgments?
Very experienced technical barristers in the UK. The two people that are our kind of senior advisors on that are the two most qualified people in the UK to do that kind of work, and the UK is a global centre for that kind of work. So we're very, very deeply grounded in the existing commercial experience.
But Vinny, you are really known. You started with the Ethereum group. You've been in that. You've helped with all kinds of refugees that they are doing. But this sounds extraordinary commercial.
It is extraordinarily commercial. Turns out that paying for refugee camps is really expensive, and you've got to do commercial stuff to make the money to pay for the refugee camps. So that's what we're doing. Yeah.
You even made a tent, right? You made a tent.
Well, I made a thing called the Hexayurt, which is built all over Burning Man to build, but we tried to get it into commercial industry to, be built all around the world for refugees. Turns out that requires more capital than I was able to access. So here I am, finding the capital to build my refugees.
And what happened then? Because, you were at the original Ethereum you got lots of ethers. What happened with that?
So at the DAO crisis, I divested because I no longer felt confident that I understood the legal position I was in. And the legal advice was you can talk or you can hold, but you can't do both.
So instead of 500 or 1,000 per Ethereum, you got?
I think it was about 14. Right? Okay. But at the time I made that decision, I knew it was going to cost me tens of millions of dollars, right? In the position where you've got a choice between the free practice of your trade in a booming economy or having to keep your mouth shut for regulatory reasons, it seemed like the wise thing to do was to have the full range of commercial flexibility so I could actually go out and build critical infrastructure that mattered rather than being stuck as a passive investor. I wanted to lead from the front lines, and that's the decision I made.
Very good. Lots of integrity. What is your vision for the next couple of years? In the craziness where we are now, what do you see crypto play as a role in society?
I think we're going to largely see it fiat coins and a very strong regulation of anonymous currency. I think we're going to wind up mainstreamed into the financial industry whether we like it or not, and the harder we fight that, the harder they're going to hit us. The other thing is I think we're going to see the tokenization, not of existing property rights, but of entirely new classes of property rights. So my emphasis is on the creation of new kinds of property, not by government fiat in the way that you would with, say, copyright, but in the way that, for example, derivatives were created by contract. So the use of contract law to create new classes of property, I think, is going to be the real crypto explosion, and we are only in the very, very earliest days of that process.
And you think that the currency part of it, paying for everything, will be heavily regulated and will be eliminated?
I think that what you're going to see is dollar coins and euro coins issued by the central banks onto blockchains, and then going through a series of hands in the banking system to individuals. I really don't think that the idea of independently issued global currencies is going to survive unless the crypto community cuts a deal with, for example, the UN or the World Bank. So if the ITU became the global crypto regulator using the same authority...
You need an international authority to be able to get an international payment system.
Oh, this is the potential, yeah, this is the potential. Now, I don't know for sure which way that will go, but it seems to me that the ITU is the logical regulator, and we just have to wait and see how that all pans out.
Then, if we look at the ICOs which we currently have, you know, you saw that everything went up like crazy. How do you look at that world? What phase are we in, and how fast will that correct itself?
Well, I mean, welcome to the late 1990s, right? I was in tech in the late 1990s. The dot-com bubble, I believe, topped out somewhere around $6 trillion. So we're only at, what, 20%? 5%, right? 1/20th the size of the dot-com bubble. So at that point, I don't think the bubble has really even started yet. But this time we know it's a bubble, right? We are experienced enough to know that 99% of these assets will be worthless, and a handful of them will turn into Amazon, eBay, Facebook. And I would not like to be an investor in that environment.
If you look at your favorite platform, Ethereum, and you look at Bitcoin, and you look at all the other platforms, do you see them going somewhere? What are going to be the dominant crypto platforms?
Well, for every platform, the defining characteristic is not what it does today, it's how fast it innovates. The innovation is way more important than the starting point. And you've seen that with, for example, Litecoin has innovated really, really quickly and has become more and more respectable as a result. The faster you innovate, the better it gets over time. So I don't think the existing platforms are innovating particularly gracefully. That leaves lots of opportunity for newcomers to come in, but it's really all going to come down to who innovates fastest. And I don't know how you design a crypto platform for continuous innovation. There must be a way of doing it, but I don't know what that way is.
Okay, what about your old pal out of the Ethereum, Cardona, the guy, Charles?
They're doing a lot of very, very high quality engineering. What will happen legally, what will happen in the long run, will they get mass adoption? I don't know.
Okay. 5 years from now, where will you be?
Well, by then I'm hoping to be up to my eyeballs building new cities in the developing world, but I suspect that's going to be more like 15 years.
Well, I mean, one of the things I saw is that identity services could start there. Because, I mean, a lot of these people have no identity, no digital identity. Do you see a purpose for that group of people, that it could be a launching group?
Well, there's two places you could start. You could start with the ultra-rich, or you could start with the very poor. Generally speaking, I think most of the innovation really comes from the ultra-rich. Right, cell phone calls used to be $6 a minute, and it was movie executives in LA, the realtors that paid for that industry. So I think that really the ultra-high net worth are the people who are most inconvenienced by modern KYC, and they've got the lobbying power to cut through. So once you make it work for the ultra-high net worth, which the banks are very eager to fix, then what comes out of that is a transformation where the laws are changed, the regulations are changed, the paradigms are changed. Then you could get that stuff pushed down to the poor. If you start with the poor, what will happen is you'll get so far and then the regulators will just be like, wait, what? And then you'll hit trouble. So I generally favor...
You're launching customers for the 2 billion poor.
Well, I mean, you can try, but what will happen is you'll get a couple 100 million users and then the government will get really heavily involved. So my gut feeling about all of this is, unfortunately, and I don't like saying it, but the cell phone model is the only thing we've shown to really work, and that means get it right for the rich and the poor will follow.
We'll be having a panel in about an hour and a half, and you'll see Gupta talk about this more. So be there and come back.